The Indiana Fever's living conditions. Indiana Fever, then. And I've always thought they're gonna fire everyone. And I do think so. Therefore, if you're a fan of the Fever and you're hoping they'll keep Caitlin Clark, I think they won't be able to let her go when the chips are down. They will start afresh after firing everyone. I think so. The amount of fiddling with the bag that would have to be done is beyond my comprehension. When Gatorade attempts to surf the Caitlin Clark wave but fails to remember who is actually paddling, what do you get? A fiery PR catastrophe involving excessive electrolytes. They had a slam dunk, according to the WNBA. Turned out to be more of a dumpster fire than an airball. And wait to hear the true opinions of supporters. This poll may be of interest to Fever management. In addition, Caitlin recently amassed $660,000 like it was cash. Get some popcorn. It's juicy. What does the WNBA stand to gain from Caitlin Clark? Everything. She has permanently altered women's history and dynamics. She has even inspired me to pick up basketball again, and I see how inspired the young girls are here today. She has, I believe, drawn attention. She took care of things for us. We had never seen it before, but now we're huge fans. Her contributions, in my opinion, have not been as drastic as some believe. I believe that the league has been improving on its own, and that's what we should be concentrating on. It's necessary, in my opinion, that she has raised a lot of awareness to the WNBA. It's fantastic, in my opinion. Since I grew up following the WNBA, I find its comeback to be really thrilling. She was everything. I had never seen it before. I'll be gone too if she quits the Fever. It's no longer a whisper. It is a full-fledged call to action. Caitlin Clark is not limited to her WNBA career. For a whole new generation of fans who didn't even know what a Fever was 6 months ago, she is the WNBA. It appears that Caitlin is going to grab half of the fan base in the divorce, so Indiana had better start preparing a custody attorney. An illustration, and this has enough votes. This is an excellent test to determine how horrible this might be. This was released by Swag and is beginning to circulate. I cast my ballot. Now, fans of the Fever, respond to this. Will you continue to support the Fever if Caitlin leaves? Here we received 45 votes. Not at all. Packed my bags. Is by far in the lead. These fans are not casual ones. Either. These are diehards who have been baptized, converted, and completely assimilated into the Caitlin Church. Zip codes and team colors are irrelevant to them. The logo is Caitlin's. Her uniform isn't her jersey. It's a GPS. They follow her wherever she goes. She is the object of loyalty, not Indiana. I appreciate and cherish the other members of the roster for allowing her to prepare my dinner. I'm purchasing stock in Powerade. Does this imply that women shouldn't? No, they didn't do it. You couldn't have thought about this without it lingering in the back of your mind. They're just going to say, oh, it's women. It seems. All she has to do is cook. I didn't consider that in the public relations room. I'm a huge supporter of letting go, but when the lights go out and you have to decide between a brand and the phenomenon that captured your attention in the... First of all, there's no argument. Double C or bust is the rule. And rather than Caitlin's poor performance, Fever supporters are sweating because it's beginning to resemble bust. Oh no, she's carrying out her drafted duties exactly. Help transform this poor franchise into something that resembles professional basketball by bringing in crowds, attention, and ratings. The issue is that her coach may be the only person who hasn't noticed. Boy, oh boy. Listen, WNBA players earn 9% of NBA players' earnings, while NBA players earn 50%. At the same time, merchandise sales have increased by 500% and attendance has increased by 40%. They will therefore receive a rise. No question exists, and it doesn't really matter to me that they haven't made much money or lost much over the last 25 years. I don't give a damn. They are currently on a heater and engaged in a negotiation. Therefore, it isn't really important. I've stated this previously. If I had invested for 5 years and it lost money, I would have had roughly 6 months remaining in the investment before they started turning a profit in the final 6 months. I'm not going to back out of the investment. I want my money back at last. They will therefore receive a rise. Well, things are finally getting better. However, like any business, negotiation is all about. Momentum at the moment. It wasn't 12 years ago. The strategy seems less like, empower your superstar, and more like, maybe next quarter. So it's about present momentum. This spoiler alert is amusing since they are losing and losing ugly, not winning. However, the same pattern appears when the post-game talk period comes. If a player falls from a boat, she won't be able to hit the water. It's 2 for 14. Caitlin makes one contested 3 in the last seconds, and the coach responds, "Keep shooting, honey. They'll fall eventually." Lecture in a flash. It's more than just unclear. This performance art on the edge. Supporters are not blind. They observe what is taking place, and they are not staying to witness a slow-motion sabotage of the primary reason they purchased tickets. The message is repeated, loud, and clear. Not to disparage the other amazing stars in the WNBA at the moment, though, because this is migration, not simply fandom. And the monarch butterfly is Caitlin Clark. Fever merchandise is not being carried by these folks. They have portable loyalty with them. They also don't give a damn if she winds up in the Bermuda Triangle, Las Vegas, or New York. They're pursuing. It makes no difference if the team alters cities, names, or abruptly rebrands as the tornadoes of toilet paper. They are all in if CC is listed on the roster. It's more than simply a fad. The management of Fever should be frightened because it's a widespread problem. These supporters aren't attempting to be dramatic, you see. They are merely presenting the facts. They even considered the WNBA because of Caitlin. The league's marketing wasn't the cause. It wasn't the Instagram or the gaudy advertisements. Reels. One Iowa child has the personality of a late-night talk show presenter, Steph Curry's range, and crazy court vision. She made watching women's basketball on TV a mandatory. Imagine now willingly ignoring that. It's similar to opting to pave over a gold mine in order to construct a strip mall. The investors are incensed because it makes no sense. Indeed, supporters adore the rest of the team. No one is attempting to remove the remainder of the roster. I don't mind the t-shirts, but why do you try to win the Golden Goose Caitlin Clark? Prior to her arrival, you two were traveling on one of those airlines that charged for a cup of water. One airline is the one whose aircraft have the color of a highlighter. You're flying in private now. All right, keep your problems to yourself if you're in a band and you're staying at the Motel 6 and you bring a band member along and you're now at the Ritz-Carlton. The worst aspect is that it's beginning to appear deliberate, as if some perverse reasoning is being used in the background. Keep the novice modest. Keep her from growing too big. Even if the veteran's shooting percentage is more akin to a Powerball prize than the league average, make sure they still get their shots. Just let her cook. The fans are yelling, but each time she heats up, someone yanks the pan off the stove. Burner. The Caitlin Clark fan following isn't just devoted. They're furious when you add bad body language, stressful press conferences, and dubious late-game choices. They feel as though they have been duped. During the game, you cannot treat your new star like a glorified decoy after promoting her and selling her as the face of every company from Gatorade to garden hoses. It's not a strategy. That is slow-motion sabotage. What then? What if she goes? Easy. Since streaming services were created, the WNBA has seen the biggest fan exodus. One day, you'll be performing in front of record-breaking crowds and packed houses. Next up are crickets, and Ninja Warrior reruns are generating more viewers. I'm actually going to pass on that question at age 23. Women's sports are being revolutionized by WNBA player Caitlin Clark. The night after, she fills venues. Night and TV viewing records have been broken by her games. And it's easy to understand why if you watch Clark play. She makes long-range three-pointers appear effortless. When the game is on the line, he wants the ball just like any other star. And don't assume that this is just rhetoric. There's no bluffing from these supporters. They have already begun to investigate other cities. They have group chats, spreadsheets, and maps. In Phoenix, several people have rental apps open. The zip code system in Las Vegas is being learned by others. Since they aren't associated with a logo, Caitlin Clark watch parties are being organized in states where she doesn't even currently play in case she is traded. They have a legacy attached to them. Indiana basketball didn't win them over. 6 months ago, they had no idea what a fever was. It goes beyond fandom. There is a captive circumstance. The management of Fevers had only one job. Don't make a mistake. And yet, we see them ostensibly attempting to destroy the one thing that is functioning. Fans of Caitlin Clark are not going to silently applaud her as she is treated like a glorified ball shuttler. They have come this far to be heard. Therefore, trust those who say they will leave if she does. For them, Caitlin Clark is the product rather than a player. She is the center of the ecosystem. If she leaves Indiana, that squad will once again be simply another name on a box score. If she were to move, that city would immediately become the center of WNBA fandom. And I believe it's like this. If you're a WNBA star like Caitlin Clark, you're probably one of the few people that anyone who knows sports will recognize. She's receiving a lot of offers. Gatorade, Coke, Nike, you name it. According to many other players I know, you're probably not making that much money if you're the 12th member on the team. But what are they going to negotiate with if I come out like this? What kind of proposal are they bringing that will alter their pay? And I was attempting to determine it. I was unable to comprehend since they had already begun rev sharing. Because they lose 50 each year, the NBA already pays them money to make up for their losses. The fans aren't showing any emotion. They're being practical. They owe nothing to the Fever. Thanks to Caitlin, they gave the team a chance. Caitlin was the reason they stayed. They'll go because, well, if the current nonsense continues, Caitlin might not stay. Perhaps cease treating. She's like a supporting role in someone else's story. Because it's more than simply a trade if she walks. The event is at the extinction level. And it won't be a fever dream this time. It will be a complete nightmare. Stephanie White's coaching style seems to be more about micromanaging your superstar into oblivion than it is about developing your superstar. It's no longer even subtext at this point. It's hardly coded. At every press conference, Morse code blinks. I never chose Caitlin Clark. It seems like she's trying to make Caitlin into the exact type of quiet, differential, don't upset the boat player that the old guard can put up with now that the season is underway, even though she did smile for the cameras and discuss modifying systems. Female bird. Van Slugenhogen was on her. I'm offended that you guys have white defensive players protecting me, she said. She placed her in a torture chamber after that. Her small face should have told you right away that she wasn't interested in this matchup. Caitlin makes me think of Dame. She always makes a 3 on her first attempt, in case anyone noticed. Quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3. On her first shot, she sets the distance. You must therefore protect her there. She is now free to do as she pleases. She's engaged in a game of chess. Dame does just that. He begins his game. From 3 to 4, he will shoot a deep ass. Here's the worst part, though. Caitlin Clark is not suited for a supporting role. She is not an add-on to some antiquated strategy that is kept afloat by vibes and gum. She is the reason the automobile began in the first place, the GPS, the Spotify playlist, and the engine. Nevertheless, you can almost see Stephanie White making calculated U-turns and emotional speed bumps in each game, as if she were directing traffic rather than executing an offensive move. The fact that this isn't even about minor differences in play style anymore makes it crazy. This has a personal feel to it, similar to the vibe you give someone who was dropped off at your house by corporate and then had to grin while hosting the dinner party. However, in this instance, even though the dinner guest is preparing 5-star meals and covering the rent, they are still urged to unwind and pass the salt. We should refer to it as resistance. The Caitlin Clark era and all the lofty rhetoric about loving her game, vapor, made Stephanie White seem like she was gritting her teeth from the very beginning. Rather, we have game plans that show Clark parked in a corner while teammates with the green light hurl bricks, as if they were constructing an Olive Garden with a WNBA motif. No buckets, just endless breadsticks. However, even after Clark squeezes out 15 assists, 23 points, a few highlights that went viral while avoiding elbows, referee pandemonium, and stillness. No acknowledgement, no festivity. WNBA before Caitlin Clark, WNBA after Caitlin Clark, and another tense post-game lecture about letting the game unfold or spacing out. Give an account of these two worlds. Oh, it's a whole 180-degree change. The WNBA was founded in 1997, the year following the Olympics in Atlanta, and it came at a time when many people, did not take women's sports seriously. And if we want to compare before and after, some of those same people or guys who look like them are the ones that purchase the 22 jerseys and wear them to major league games, grocery stores, and gas stations. Being a WNBA fan and admiring Caitlin Clark and the players who are finally receiving attention is now cool. Recalculate. Let her cook. Turn around. Caitlin's admirers come from every state, time zone, and income class. Middle schools, basketball enthusiasts who are 80 years old, casual fans, diehards, and even some who still believe that the WNBA is played on a 9FFT rim. She is more than a mere athlete. She is a revolution and a brand. Media engagement eggs are laid by the WNBA's Golden Goose more quickly than the league can cash them in. She would be live streaming her morning stretches while sporting a camera on her head, if the marketing team had their way. However, she played like a second-round benchwarmer on the floor. How she is occasionally used. And we're all expected to act as though that's the norm. Let's chat about the Olympics, please. Someone read me the list on June 7th, the night I announced the news, indicating that Caitlin Clark was not on the Olympic squad. She had just finished an incredible game against Washington, scoring 30 points and making 7 three-pointers. In the end, they clearly did not want her on the squad. There was a feeling that she should wait for her time. They wanted to give the final gift to Diana Taurasi. Offer an example of another occasion when you would offer an Olympic-born athlete the farewell gift. Horrible. I have a great story from that time in the book. Caitlin said, "Hey, it's okay." And in the interview, she said, "It's all right. I'll make it the next time." Stephanie White is free to use as many coaching cliches as she likes. Adhere to the strategy. Everybody plays a part. We must not omit any steps. Everything is fine until you realize that the only thing being omitted is allowing Caitlin Clark to be herself. It's not working, which is the funniest part. The endeavor to keep Caitlin in check isn't working. It's causing uncertainty, disruption, and misunderstandings that appear to have been planned by CIR Dussel. Fans are losing it in the meanwhile because they can see exactly what's taking place. It is a combination of basketball 101 and common sense. If we do things my way, Stephanie White appears intent on making the Caitlin Clark experience a meat grinder. She captivated me, and I must say, this was the best performance I've ever witnessed at the NCAA tournament. The best performance on this large stage, boy or girl. Well, let me explain. Because games like this don't always live up to the expectation. Yes, you must realize that the scout report is designed to stop you, which is why you rarely see the two superstars perform like superstars. People who have never witnessed a girls' basketball game will be the ones creating all the excitement leading up to today. If her method was winning titles, a lot of people would be content to wait for the first. Rather, it's causing meltdowns in the late game and fan-base tantrums frequently at the same time. Now that the season is halfway through, the story is obvious. Clark didn't enter a team with the intention of elevating her. Fortunately, Caitlin Clark is more than just a player, so she's not alone. She is a force. Additionally, emotions are not silent. They do not respectfully wait for an opportunity to shine. They assume control. Like a highlight reel dunk, they burst through resistance. Slow motion. Furthermore, they will be the response to a trivia question rather than a dynasty if the fever doesn't break quickly. Thus, it's possible that Stephanie White never desired Caitlin Clark. Perhaps she wanted someone who was simpler to coach, mold, and ignore. Unfortunately, she received a lightning bolt in high peaks, a phenom. Furthermore, no number of obstinate game plans will be able to avert the inevitable. Caitlin Clark has given up waiting for approval. The light is her. Will it continue to be weakened by the fever, or let it shine at last?